Welcome back to night two.
Welcome
Another
back.
conclusive night after the DNC has concluded. I'm Alex Haynes.
And I'm Tiffany Linnell.
All right, Tiffany. All right, so night two. Let's get straight to it. People watched, people tuned in. If you know somebody that watched or people that were confused, they want to discuss it, this is the time. Have them share this feed with them, share the link with them. We're talking about it. They can jump in the comments. We're going to unpack it and kind of get down into the things that we all care about, the things that we all want to hear about. I'll say this. I was a little, I like comedy, right? So I find the comedy in everything. I found the comedy in
likewise
Bobby's World's mom from yesterday, and the governor of Michigan. And today, I found comedy in these United States. So I just wanted to start with that. As we did the roll call throughout, and we saw the different shades of the what is that show on CNN? The Shades
of America.
We saw the different shades of America in real life. Like,
yes,
from Hawaii to what was that?
I've never heard of
Northern Mariana.
Yeah,
is it North Mariana, Northern Mariana?
I think it was Northern Mariana Islands.
Someplace I don't know where that is. I know where I thought I knew where everything was, but I don't know where that is.
Everyone who knows me knows I'm terrible with geography, so they would not be surprised to know that when that came up on the screen, I said, "I'm sorry, where?"
Yeah, I just don't know where that is. I have no idea where that is.
And literally, if you Google it, you just see ocean. Google it. Just everyone who's watching us, just take a moment and Google it. Okay. We'll continue the show, but go ahead.
Listen, Northern Mariana jumped in. They had delegates, but they can't vote. But they are citizens, which is it's not totally uncommon, right? We've got Guam and Puerto Rico. They can vote for everything, I believe, but the president.
I believe.
I'll fact check it myself because I knew this at one point, but it's not. It's one of those things that you don't need, and so it doesn't remain in memory. You may need it. I mean, some of us may need it if you whatever. Okay, so we won't spend too much time on that. But if you tuned in tonight and you tuned in yesterday, you saw there were some stark differences. One thing was definitely the diversity, and there was an outcry from the Latinx community after yesterday's convention that they just did not feel represented enough. I don't think anybody could have watched this tonight and not have seen themselves multiple times. Pieces of yourself that you didn't know were there. Like it was very colorful. It was very colorful, and it actually had me salivating to watch next week because I know that if there's one thing that the RNC does not have is diversity, and it's one thing that they usually ignore. They can stick to who they are, and they're kind of resistant to those things. But I really think the pressure is on. I think that they're going to be watching this, and they have gloated in the fact that if you watch conservative media, they're all showing like empty Milwaukee, and that Democrats will desert you just like they deserted Milwaukee, and they're doing everything virtual.
Right.
But this display of unity again for day 2, we saw unity like we had not seen before. Right. I really think that's a game changer. It's a huge game changer because people are not going to, I mean, some people will, but you're not going to find a majority of people voting for things that they or finding themselves attached to something that they don't see themselves in. America's changed, and my thoughts. What do you think?
I think that they are really sticking with the themes of their night. So the theme "We the People" carried through day two. Tonight was Uniting America, along with Leadership Matters was the overall theme that they were going with tonight. So you heard them talk a lot about Joe Biden's leadership and what qualifies him to be commander in chief, what qualifies him over healthcare, what qualifies him over just a plethora of areas. So I think that they have done a very good job of sticking with their strategy of this is our theme. We're going to stick to this theme. We're going to make sure that we have diversity in everything that we do, but we're also going to stick to process and make sure that we follow process. Tonight was a lot of process, but I think it was a well done, well thought out way to carry out the process of managing the roll call that has to occur, which I know we'll get into in a bit, and everything else. So those are my initial thoughts. I think it was another. Actually, I almost feel like tonight was even more well thought out and well done than last night was.
I thought the same. I thought it took much more tenacity and focus, and there was a direction. And although there were some people that I didn't really want to hear for, they were there anyway, and I was like, okay. I'm glad that you were there. I will say that, again, I got to go back to the Shades of America. Mm-hmm. I just was reminded of why I'm a city boy and will always be a city boy. Like Kansas, I was like, no. Montana, I was like, I can't hear you.
Right. But I mean, it was the one where the wind was blowing extremely hard.
But what I think is telling, I want to hit that, although I'm not moving to those places, I think that it's important to recognize, and I say this often, that there are people that have nothing, that are just like you and they live in other places. There are people that are nothing like you that live in places that look like nowhere that you're from. And that is what this country is made up of. And we're all voting for the same person. And so coming outside of yourself, and I said it yesterday, I will say it again, you have to be aware of what other people are thinking, where they're from. You have to be willing to go outside of yourself. And I know that there are so many of us are one issue voters. So many of us are not. But going beyond and understanding, and this is for those people that, live in Montana, and, open land is really important to them, and just no one touching their open land is really important to them. And I don't understand, and this is my personal, I'll get out of the way in a minute, but I don't understand why places like that need laws. There's nobody coming to bother you. There's no one. I mean, I do know that, corporations and things there's certain things, right? But the everyday laws that we have who cares? If your closest neighbor is 5 miles away, who can really tell you what to do?
I mean, we don't really know what goes on in those areas.
I'm going to leave that there. All right. So what we did see tonight is a number of states. So Joe Biden has officially been nominated as the candidate by the Democrats as the candidate for president for election 2020. All of the states. There was a state that passed.
And then had a round two, which was interesting.
So I think people watching, and a lot of people didn't watch this, and that's why they're watching this now, right? If you could summarize what they missed, what would you say?
It's funny you ask that, because I actually, while the roll call was occurring, I was explaining to someone what was actually happening. So let me start there and give a very high level summary of what occurred during that whole process. Because I think that piece, some of the channels went to commercial. So, but it matters.
During that piece, but I think people that are just now tuning into the voting process for the first time, they don't really know what the hell is going on, and they are just kind of confused. They need some direction. I really think that it should be explained. So we'll try to run through it quickly. I know you can be quick with this.
I'm going to do my level best. So basically, what happened tonight is of course, they went through all of the, leadership matters and all of that, but the roll call was really the most important thing that happened this evening. So the roll call is normally, if we're watching the in-person convention, that's when you'll see one person from each state kind of serve as a representative for that state, and they cast their delegate votes. The delegate votes is what determines who is the presidential nominee for the party. So you would notice, if depending on what channel you were watching or what stream you were watching, you would see a count at the bottom of the screen. There is a requirement of a little over 2,700 votes that Joe Biden needed to become the official Democratic presidential nominee. He got 2,739 votes. As long as you are over 300 delegate votes, you get a nominating speech. So that was the confusing part, where AOC came on and seconded the nomination for Senator Bernie Sanders. I saw that there was some confusion on Twitter there. She even gave a small statement via tweet. So we'll go over that in a second. But basically, it was her duty on this evening to second the nomination for Senator Bernie Sanders, because he was left on the ballot in some states, therefore getting more than 300 delegate votes. He actually received 1,119 delegate votes. So he was second under Biden, which again received 2,739 votes. But that is the roll call is what determines the official nominee for the party. So that left Joe Biden as the official nominee, and that is what the roll call is. I hope that was quick enough.
That said, though, do you feel like I feel like people were like, it's virtual. Why do they still have to go through? And this is where the disconnect is, which I want to get. I know that we got to go through some things, but I do want to ask our correspondents that are with us today. I have a few pointed questions that I want to get out, and I think people keep asking me. I'm going to ask you, and I think they had to keep it as close to the normal process as possible, even though it was virtual. So before I start my word vomit and all of my extra, spewing of the extra, let's bring in our correspondents and we'll talk about a little bit about what they saw. First, we've got Sagar joining us. Sagar.
Hey, Alex. Hey, Tiff. Nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you as well.
Hey, nice to see you.
So you watched tonight. How'd you feel? What'd you think?
I really thought that they got across the message, leadership matters. I did some coverage on Sally Yates, Senator Chuck Schumer, and Representative Lisa Blunt, Rochester, and I definitely got the message, leadership matters, from all three of them, but in like some different flavors. So with Sally Yates, she's the former deputy attorney general, and she was also acting attorney general for a little bit during the Trump administration. She definitely used her statement to say that leadership matters when it comes to the Trump administration and how it's been a failure of leadership. She had some pointed comments about the Muslim ban, which is what actually got her fired. She made her state during the time that the Muslim ban initially came in. She told the Justice Department, we're not going to defend this. And tonight she called it shameful and unlawful. And so it's great to see that she is, standing by her beliefs all these years later.
Absolutely. And I would say too, Sally is somebody, for me, when I first learned her name, and I'm somebody, like, if I've never heard your name, I go into deep research and I want to know exactly who you are, where you're going. And so I always go down these rabbit holes and I start finding out information I don't need. But what I liked about when I started to look into Sally Yates years ago was that she's someone that stays committed to her convictions. And so she's 100%. Not easily swayed, which is difficult for our current administration. Like they just don't respond well to people that don't fall in line with what they want. So
definitely. And she had a great quote. She said, Donald Trump treats this country like his family business, bankrupting our moral authority at home and abroad. And I'm sure Donald Trump has been used to, like, for years, just people falling in line. And
well, if not, he's had the ability and the money to get rid of them. So
exactly.
That part.
And so it makes you wonder how much of that is actually occurring in the government right now. How many people we can actually clearly see how many people he's actually gotten rid of. But what
Too many to count.
yeah. Let's
That part.
Yeah.
I won't.
Something else or another quote that she said that really stuck with me was, "We need a president who respects our laws and the privilege of public service." It was that privilege of public service that stuck out to me. Saagar, I don't know how you feel about that part, but I really, what did you think about that? It stuck out to me, but I'm curious about your thoughts on that.
Exactly. She talked about how public servants are meant to, defend our Constitution, uphold our laws, and work for the people. And she definitely drove that point home to kind of show that that's not what has happened over the last 4 years. I think she really emphasized that the Trump administration has really been driven by self-interest and not like the mutual interest of the American people.
Interesting. Very good points to drive home. Who else did you cover on tonight? There were quite a few speakers.
Yeah, right after Sally Yates, we got to see Minority Leader Chuck Schumer from the Senate, and I think that it actually went pretty nicely into his because he got his jabs in at Trump. He called him out for saying it is what it is, referring to the sobering death toll during coronavirus. But Chuck Schumer, he filmed a statement in front of the Statue of Liberty. And I think that really set a tone for his speech, because his was more so about what we can do with Joe Biden as president, and he also really drove home that we not only need the presidency, we need the Senate, we need the House, and so I think he really made that call to action: vote for your senators as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think a question, and in your analysis, Saagar, I'm interested. And Tiff, same question for you. One thing that I was hearing, and I've heard from, I'll say the younger electorate, but really many people that are part of Generation Z, or even some younger millennials, is that the struggle, they feel that the Democrats are struggling with star power. And one thing that you heard a lot of discussion about was restoring order, bringing solid leadership, and restoring morals. And that's attractive to people that have experienced that people that have lived in a time in this country where those things were normal. And they, and I think there is an illusion, and Donald Trump is really good at this. Like we talked about it yesterday. He's a media genius. He is just really good at manipulating media, understanding media, coaching media. Like he's the best at what he does. And so he brought his media empire to the presidency and runs the United States like it is The Apprentice. And he says things just off the cuff, things that have no validity, things that don't make sense, things that he can't do, things that he has no authority to do. He'll just say it like the producers can make it happen. And there's no producers here. But I think that there are people, we've got a reality TV generation right now that's living well within, that's what they know. The type of TV, they didn't grow up with sitcoms. They didn't grow up with, family, moral-filled family shows. So they don't really know that. What they know is a reality TV. They now know the reality TV president. And so they're looking and they're like, I don't really care for Trump, but I don't feel anything. And I don't know if a lot of people understand that you may not always feel something with your president. Going back to what I guess is becoming a recurring statement, 43 times the United States elected old and white. And only one time, just one time, did it look different. But this is where we are. When you think about the president that you want elected, Tiff, this one's for you first, and then Saagar, I'll ask you. Do you want a president that brings star power? And do you need that?
No. I like I said, I think when Sally Yates said who basically respects the privilege of public service. I want someone who has a heart for the people, and that doesn't necessarily come with star power. I don't care, what your celebrity status is. I don't care what your star power is. I don't necessarily care even about your level of charisma or anything like that. What do you bring to the table as far as respecting the seat that you are taking as an elected official and the responsibility that that comes with as a representative of this country? You are not just representing one group of people or two groups of people. You have to represent a very large demographic with a lot of social constructs that we have put around in our society. And you have to represent all of them and represent the best interests of all of them. And I don't think star power can cut it when it comes to a job requirement for the president. No, that doesn't cut it for me.
It's not necessary. Sagar, what about you? When you think about your president, do you need him to be A1 on the media?
I agree with Tiffany on this one. I do think you need like some level of like fieriness to it. Like you need some level of like passion and fieriness. But I think with like the Trump administration, you see that he gets fired up about ratings, making headlines. I want a president who gets fired up about representing like the most vulnerable, the most marginalized people in the country, because those are the people that don't get ratings. They're the people that need the president the most. They're the people that need government assistance, and they need their community leaders to help them the most.
Yeah, I mean, and I love to hear that. I wonder, and I'm just trying to find out what the pulse is, and I think we all want to know that. I'm going to bring Christian in, and he was watching tonight. Christian, when you tuned in tonight, what were your initial thoughts? Did you feel the passion?
I felt passion, definitely. I would say that there was definitely a message that was being pushed consistently throughout the entire thread of the evening, and that Trump is not the president for us. I'd say out of the speakers that I was specifically watching, they gave not only reasons why he'd be a good president for us, but why Trump isn't and how he's handled things, especially during this COVID pandemic.
Yeah, I think. Did you get a chance to watch last night? And if so, I mean, the differences between tonight and last night were, I think the same level of intentionality was there. Like they were extremely intentional with the delivery and very focused in the message. And that's one thing that I think I'm hoping to see. I hope that this momentum continues after the convention. And that's really why these conventions happen, so that people can begin to get excited and talk about these things and share what they know and what they've heard and what they feel and what they want. Do you feel inspired enough? And I guess this one's for you, Christian, and then I'll ask you, Sagar, to go back and talk to your friends about ensuring that they're going to show up in November.
I'm sorry, was that question for me? It was breaking up.
It was for you. Yep. Sagar,
what was the question?
We'll go to Sagar and I'll come back to you. Sagar, do you think you are energized to talk to your friends about November and ensuring that they're going to show up?
Yeah, to be honest, like on my social media, the Twitter feeds that I follow, recently it hasn't been super exciting for the Democratic Party, but this DNC is definitely, I think it's really getting people excited to go out and vote and get other people active.
I feel it. Christian, same question to you. Are you having these conversations with friends? Is it something that you are discussing amongst your friends, and are they energized about whoever they're voting for in November? I think he's having some connection issues. Tiff, I know you and we have conversations all the time. When you are you having conversations about that?
Am I having conversations?
I know you talk to me about it, but are you having these conversations?
Absolutely. And again, I am a self-proclaimed nerd. So I like to find opportunities to give my version of what is going on. So I always find it interesting when I'll say something and folks kind of give me that look like, girl, I don't know what you're talking about. And I use that as an opportunity to say, let me break it down, and I can just kind of give it in my own way. So I like to have those conversations so that I can say something in a way that is more digestible than any other format that someone may receive. So absolutely.
No, understood. Do you think, and as I've thought about this more, do you see or do you feel like you're going to get what you want out of this election or from a candidate from either side?
Completely? No. I have never been one to believe that you will find a candidate on any party, in any party, that will be everything you want or be everything you need or agree with all of your policies or beliefs or anything like that. So no, I still have issues on both sides, one more than the other, of course. But no, and that's okay. I think, in the words of my forever first lady, it is what it is.
Agreed. I want to talk about, and like we don't have to belabor this moment at all, but I do want to talk about some of the people that spoke out tonight and just how you felt about them. Like I said, there's a comedic aspect to everything. I have my entire life. I've always thought everything is funny. So when Rosalind and former President Jimmy Carter spoke, and we heard them speak passionately. I feel like there were levels to the people they were speaking to tonight, right? I think there are people that remember Jimmy Carter's presidency. I don't.
Long before me.
But there are people that remember Jimmy Carter's presidency. There are people that were totally attached to John Kerry, and when he ran, and even for the time that he served in the government, people that just really liked his policy and what he stood for. And I think that as we saw, there were some other names announced that are going to be participating in these antics. One thing that's enraging people that are extremely progressive, people that were either really let me preface this with saying not all progressives are outraged, but there are some progressives that are very outraged that Republicans that traditionally would not be at this convention at all are getting airtime. Not just airtime, but more airtime than people that have been extremely progressive. I personally don't feel any type of way because I am coming into it with, if the Democrats, from my viewpoint, just as a nonpartisan journalist, if you guys want to win, you need to do whatever it takes to win. The same thing for the other side, except there's one side that has had the same strategy forever, and then this other side with this huge tent, and they have to attract all these people. And I think it's going to be forever changing. I don't think the Democrats, I don't think they will ever be able to please everyone. But when you see this type of parties, politics playing within the party, do you think it's harmful?
I think that yes and no. I think that it depends on which side of the base, honestly. I think that for some it works and for some it doesn't. And it's a fine line and it's a fine balance that you have to find because you essentially have to play both sides, and that's just a part of the game.
Sagar, do you feel any type of way when you see extremely conservative or actual Republican candidates getting more airtime than progressive candidates that are bold Democrats and really fighting for people?
It upsets me a little bit, because, especially with like someone like John Kasich getting like way more airtime than AOC. Yeah, it's definitely a little upsetting because The progressive movement, I don't think it's just like a fad. I think it's the future of the Democratic Party.
I
That's
actually agree
where
with you.
young people are.
I
And
agree with you, and I want to talk about that for a little bit because let's talk about AOC. The airtime that she got, we didn't get the speech that I was expecting. It's just not what I think that she made a statement. We knew it was going to be 60 seconds. I wanted more. I
A
think
lot of people did.
What's that?
A lot of people did. There were a lot of people saying I could have used way more AOC.
Well, let's be honest. Let's just talk about where the party is right now. The reason that younger people are involved right now are because of people like AOC.
Right.
Like 100%. There's no doubt about it. She talks about the issues. She can relate to the issues. And she's one of the most relatable people in Congress for people under the age of 45. That's just what it is. If you're 45, you can relate to her. If you're 40, you can relate to her. If you're 35, and that is crazy because there are tons of people in Congress, especially within the House, like 450-ish. I think the number is 452, but here I am unprepared once again. Nevertheless, I think with that, she's one of the most monumental figures to hit Congress in a long time, and she shakes things up regularly. And so I think wisdom is needed in some areas, and I think we got to just be honest when we're talking about the DNC, just like we'll have to be honest when we're talking about the RNC. Things are going to change, and this defeat. A lot of analysts are already saying that if the Republicans are defeated in this 2020 election, that could very well be the end of the Republican Party as we know it. However, the Democratic Party will not remain the same. So it's not going to look like the party. It already doesn't look anything like the Democrats of the 90s.
Right.
In the 90s, you had Bill Clinton. You had them pushing. They were much more conservative. The crime bill, the 94 crime bill. You had so many different types of politics and things at play then, and things that would have never ever things that are flying now would have never flown then. So I think that as we continue to analyze what's actually happening and looking at this closely, I think AOC is one of the figures that we have to keep our eyes on. People are still really keeping their eyes on Stacey Abrams, and there are a number of just progressive candidates are winning elections left and right. Like we're seeing it over and over and over again. And so in line with that, one of the messages yesterday was a lot of the speakers at the convention were pushing the website flipthesenate.com as well in conjunction. And I think there's just something about this unity that seems different to me. I don't remember this type of unity in 2016. And I don't believe, I believe this may be a winning strategy for them because I don't see that type of unity happening.
Well, let's be honest. In 2016, they didn't really think they needed a deep dive of a strategy. Everyone was kind of walking around saying, it's Trump. He won't win. And so I don't think that they really felt like they needed to. I don't think anyone was taking it seriously.
I mean, by votes, he didn't.
By votes, he didn't. He lost by over 3 million, and that's just the facts. So I don't think, while I agree that their strategy has adjusted and definitely includes more unity and diversity this go round in the 2020 election, I can't chalk it all up to they've grown. And I'm not saying that that's what you're saying. I think that in 2016, they were like, it's Trump. No one's worried about him. Surely
what's different? Because I think in so many ways, once Biden threw his name into the hat, a lot of people were like, well, he's going to be the one.
Trump has to go. You could have taken the actor out of the Barney suit and put him up, probably. Trump has to go. And I just think that we have gotten to a point in this country, between the political uprising, the social justice uprising, the crime that is just outrageously fueling our injustice system of nonviolent criminals being locked up during a pandemic with no way to get out because our mandatory minimums from the 1990s still exist. I think people are just sick and tired of being sick and tired, to use an old African proverb, and he's got to go. So I think, Saagar mentioned folks being more excited. I think part of it is excitement. I think part of it is just enough is enough. It's time for change across the board. And while Joe Biden may not be the perfect candidate for a lot of people, he's what we have as an alternative, and we can hold them accountable once they get into office way more than we can 45.
Agree.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's it. I just agree.
Tangent, but
I mean, and I honestly think that as we kind of push forward, I feel like I'm gonna sound like a broken record, because I'm gonna keep saying the same thing again. Education is gonna be key, because people need to know that they can also affect this change, not just by their vote, first and foremost by their vote, but also by being involved, whether that's with a campaign, whether that's deciding to run, whether that's supporting in ways and galvanizing their friends and their circles and the people that they know and their communities to really get involved and demand the rights that we are due as American citizens. And I think that is the piece that has to matter. I think as you find the divisive rhetoric, it's insane to me as you kind of watch. Donald Trump was tweeting this morning, probably from his toilet, save the post office, protect the post office. And it's like, you are dismantling the post offices singularly. And I think when people are checking in and out, I say often we live in a soundbite culture right now.
Absolutely.
So people hear bits and pieces from one place, from the other. And so they don't really know unless you're having these conversations. Once you know, it's got to be your responsibility to talk about the candidate that you're supporting and why you are voting the way that you're, or why you think the way that you think, or why you believe the way that you believe, what policy actually means and how it affects you. I think until people do that, we're going to find people are kind of just out here blowing with the wind. And so they're like, well, Donald Trump wants to save the post office. He was tweeting about it today. And it's like, if you're not paying attention,
we won't see that's his
again, he's a media genius. He knows this. So
he admitted on national television that he knew that if the post office gets more funding, then it'll help the Dems win. So he admitted that that's part of the reason why he is defunding the post office.
But they're not going to take that sound bite and replay that. And that's the problem.
Well, they have played it repeatedly, but if you don't watch news at all, if you don't read news at all, you're not going to hear that anywhere. He also said in 2015 that he could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and his supporters would stand with him. He literally said that out of his mouth.
With his words.
So it's not going to be him that removes him. It's not going to be anything that he does that gets him removed, because there's a loyalty that has to be held accountable. But people have to know that you have the right, you have the ability, and part of your freedoms allow you to hold these people that we've elected accountable.
And it really is a right, because a couple of things stood out as well tonight. One, today is the anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment providing the right for women to vote in elections. But we also mentioned a little earlier in the show the Northern Mariana Islands, which admittedly, Alex, you and I had never heard of. Sagar, I don't know about you. And again, I am admittedly terrible with geography. But there are 5 U.S. territories that do not have the right to vote: the Northern Mariana Islands, Puerto Rico, Guam, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and American Samoa. Now, when you Google, again, if you look up a lot of any of these places, you'll see that they fall in between, Mexico and Australia. They're really in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And so they have certain American rights, but they're basically feeding into the American infrastructure. They're paying certain taxes. They're paying into Medicare, Medicaid. They have some of the same responsibilities as us, but they cannot vote in the November election. They cannot vote for president. And so though there have been certain civil suits, lawsuits trying to fight for this right to vote, a lot of American Samoans have moved to California where they can have the right to vote. But it shouldn't be that way. If you are a U.S. territory, if you are a part of the U.S. economy in any way, you deserve the right to vote. And that's not just any of the territories that goes, and again, this goes right back to the crime bill, crime bill and mandatory minimums and social justice and criminal justice fight and advocacy. If you have served your time, you should be, according to many people, I will say, you should have the right to vote. You get certain rights that are reinstated to you, and you should have that right to vote. So this is really a right that we all have, and a privilege that we should absolutely be taking advantage of, and vote.
Listen, tomorrow we see the vice president decision. We see the person that's been chosen to be the running mate to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, joining us at the DNC. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear from Kamala tomorrow, Sagar?
I want to today. I was surprised that we heard a lot about progressive values, and I want to hear more of that because as a young person, that's what's going to make me feel included in the democratic process. And so I know that Kamala isn't the most loved figure by progressive people, but I personally think that even though she's been an attorney general in the past, Kamala Cop, all that stuff, she does have a record of fighting for criminal justice reform in the Senate. And so I personally want to hear more about that and everything else that she has planned for the future in terms of obviously racial justice and how that plays into the criminal justice system. And I'm not the kind of person that's going to write her off just because she did act as attorney general in California. I know that she's also done a lot in the Senate for good. And so I want to hear more about that and what she has planned for the future.
Right. I think that's a great argument. I think for as much bad things that she's done and has a record that's not really favorable for a lot of people, if you want to balance it, there's a lot of great things that she's done as well. And I think that the playing field needs to be even. She's here now. So we need to, if Democrats are going to get collective, or be collective and be on the same page, they're going to be comprehensive and just cohesive in their movements. Listen and make your demands. And I think you need to make your demands known. Part of the problem, I think, is from a cultural standpoint, putting your demands on Twitter, Kamala's never going to see them. You have got to understand the process. So you, looking for a better word, don't have one. Bitching on Facebook is not going to cut. It's not going to cut. It's just not going to make it. No one's going to know but the 500 people that are your friends, and they're tired of you talking about, talking to them only. And I think that's we've got to get to that place. When you see Kamala tomorrow, Tiffany, what are you hoping to see?
I'm actually going to quote my new favorite person, Miss Kazi Watkins from North Carolina. Let me just be plain. I want to see exactly
Really?
She's amazing. Amazing. For those who don't know, I've just got to say this very quickly. Ms. Kazi Watkins is the representative for North Carolina who stood up and said, I've been doing this for a long time, so let me just be plain. Black people, especially Black women, are the backbone of this party. And if we don't show up, Democrats don't get elected. And I think that was, one, funny, but two, not a lie. And so I think that it's very critical for Kamala as a Black woman and a representative now to really come hard. And again, I've said this before, and I will continue to say it throughout this election and throughout the next 4 years after they win. There are a lot of policies and things that she's got to account for and almost make amends for. And her prosecutorial conduct and history is one of them. It just, there's really just no getting around that. And so I think for me, I'm looking to hear what will make her an amazing vice president or a good vice president. What will you do to kind of combat some of the history that you have had, and not just what she's had, but what previous administrations have had and have done to our criminal justice system, to policies that are federally impacting local levels. And so I'm looking for that. What is the actual change that you will bring to this seat in the White House and in our administration in this country?
Absolutely, spot on. And I think those demands are exactly the type of demands that need to be made. I think you got to account for the fact that, you know, there's an argument, and correcting misnomers is something that we all have to do, right? There's an argument, oh, she just locked up criminals. That's part of it. But what really happened was she really worked and got the worst convictions for some of the lightest crimes really to pad her record, and that has frustrated a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people are still suffering for that. I know that it's going to be taped, and I know that her delivery is not going to be. I'm not expecting Kamala to have a much live delivery. I don't want what we got from her in the primary. What I don't want to see from Kamala Harris is her smiling and laughing her way through answers. That's just not going to work this time. It's just not going to cut it. You can't, and the smile is wonderful. She has a great smile. She makes you feel seen when she smiles at you. However, when you ask her a question about her history, she starts laughing, and this is, I mean, I've covered her for a long time, so I've got B-roll for days that can show you that she's just not going to answer the question. It's something that we can talk about. We can discuss it further. Kamala, we don't want to discuss it, and we're not at the place to where we can afford to discuss things and discuss change for 4 years with you, and then poof, you're gone. We just don't. We can't afford that. We're just not at that place. So that's my main want. That's my main desire. I want you to just shoot it to us straight. There's a really straight shooting generation, and I'm the majority of the electorate wants you to be upfront. If it can't happen right now, when can it happen? If it's not going to happen right now, when are you expecting it to happen? What can we enact to make sure that we see some movement and that we are not wasting time and wasting cycles? And that's one thing that I like, because things have been so polarizing. People are getting involved at the age that they can. And there are 18-year-olds that are passionate about seeing some real change. And that fire is not going to slow down. I think we are going to start seeing some momentum. So that's the main thing I want to see from Kamala tomorrow, is for her to come with some real answers. Like, bring it.
I think real is spot on in your description. And, you know, I agree. I think that it's very interesting that even as we are going through the DNC, people are still protesting in the streets to arrest Breonna Taylor's murderers. And so I think when you really look at that and you paint that portrait against everything that's happening in this country at the same time, real is something that we need. We need real change. We need real policies that can govern us where we are today. We need balance. We need realness. Like I said, I think real is just spot on word. Honestly, really, truly, I couldn't have said it better myself.
It is. Well, I think honestly, we'll just keep watching this, and this is where we are. There's so much to be said, and I think, you know, Thursday when we have this conversation, I think that I'll be able to take the week and just really be able to summarize my feeling and hopes for the direction, and then we'll be able to do the same thing next week and see what we come out with. Any final words, Sagar, about tonight or the process in general?
You know, I was very pleased tonight with just, again, the inclusion of progressive voices. And also, like Tiffany said, they really drove home the point of enough is enough. You know, I think that they are showing us that, you know, 4 more years of Trump, 4 more years of coronavirus, 4 more years of like all this shit is, you know, is not good. And like, we can't afford it. And so, you know, Joe Biden is our alternative. And I think that they're bringing that energy to get people to vote him in.
100%. Tiff.
He just said 4 years of coronavirus, and I almost shed a tear or 3.
Like, let's be real. Like, they haven't done much.
Literally.
Yeah,
we still like. We could go another hour. We still know nothing. We know nothing. We know nothing.
Nothing. We have nothing. That you're right.
What's really? I've been triggered. What's really telling about this right now is while we are still dealing with our first wave in states that have just ignored everything and have done nothing and are wide open, Europe, and we are watching literally them start to enter second phases as they have opened up, and they're having to close back down. And we're watching this before our eyes. And if we think like America will never leave the first phase. And with this leadership, he's spot on. It's just going to continue to mutate into something else. And it will be the normal. So change has got to come. Change has got to come. Change has got to come. Sagar, thanks for covering tonight.
Of course.
And of course, keep us abreast of anything and your thoughts. We will continue to follow these in depth. And for those of you watching, we will be back here tomorrow at the same time at the conclusion of night 3 for the DNC. I don't have any final words aside from good night, and let's do this again tomorrow. Everyone, stay focused. Wear your mask, and
wear your mask.
Wear your mask,
Mask up.
and have a good night.